Okay, introduction and looking at compound inequalities. So you're comparing ands and or inequalities. So that means it's not just coloring in one direction. It's going to encompass a bunch of numbers, and it could be an opposite if it's an or an overlap if our and. So this is a graphic on your daily page today, but and is a conjunction, an intersection. It's the common and same answers. So the two equations that we're going to get into are going to give us the same answers. Or is the opposite of that. Disjunction, union is the word you definitely want to remember, and that's all together. So they're both going to be part of the answer. So it's going to be two different answers. You will see them written as an and, or you will see them written as a compound. This is written as your compound without the and or there. And then your or is only written with or. It can't be written together. And then it's going to be shaded out in opposite directions. So I'm going to go right or left. Whereas your and, it's going to be everything in the middle. So it's all the overlap when we graph these two. Okay, so that's pretty quick, but that's your vocabulary. And now we're going to actually work a couple of these to see how they go. All right, so we're going to start with ands. Now, most students mess up because this freaks them out. So here's what I personally think is awesome to do. I'm going to cover up this side of the inequality. So it's just 56 is greater than or equal to 8n. So 56 is greater than or equal to 8n. Then I'm going to cover up the other side with the inequality, and it's 8n is greater than or equal to negative 56. Now I have two problems, and we're just going to solve them as two separate problems one at a time, right? So they're not even going to be related. So we're going to hold off on this one and start on the left side. On the left side, I have 8 times n, which means I'm going to divide by 8, and that should give, and that's a positive 8, so everything's fine with our symbol, so we don't have to use our golden rule of inequalities. So 56 divided by 8 is going to give me 7 greater than or equal to n. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. It's just an 8, so we're going to divide by 8, and so n is greater than or equal to a negative 7. So written as a compound, when you finally finish this answer, just because you may see it different ways, 7 is greater than or equal to n, but n is greater than or equal to negative 7. So that means it's going to fall in between a positive 7 and a negative 7. So we know at positive 7, we have an equal to. So we're going to go up here to positive 7. It's an equal to, so we're going to shade it in. And then we are going to shade, and this is just to show you what this overlap, what I mean by the overlap. So it is, n is less than, oops, sorry, runaway pen cap, is less than 7. So if we did our test point, so 7 is greater than or equal to 0. In that case, it is not, it is greater than 0. That one's good. So we're going to shade in the direction of 0. So we're going to shade this way for our first one, for this one. Okay, we're going to do a test point here. Is 0 greater than or equal to negative 7? We're going to go to our negative 7, which is right here. It is an equal to, so we're going to color that bad boy in. And then I'm going to decide, is that 0 greater than or equal to 7? It is. So we're going to go in the direction of 0 again, which is this way. But to graph this compound inequality or answer this question, the only portion you actually want is the overlap. So the part that's green and orange in this case. So it's going to be between the two dots because it's an and. So between the two dots. So that orange and green hanging out on the outside is not the solutions. It was just, again, to show you that what we want is where they overlap. Both solid circles because of that equal to. All right, so the next one, we're going to write it twice. So negative 12 is less than n minus 2. Stop when you hit your next inequality. Then I'm going to cover up this one. So n minus 2 is less than negative 7. So you're just writing it as two separate problems. All right, we're going to solve the first one. We need to get n by itself. So we are going to add 2 to both sides. So I have a negative 10 is less than n. Did not use the golden rule of inequality. We did not divide or multiply by negative, so everything's perfect. We're just solving like a regular equation and carrying down our symbols. Then we're going to come over here to our second one. get n by itself. We're going to add 2 to both sides again. And so n is less than a negative 5. We're going to graph each one. So we can do test point 2. So negative 10 is less than 0. Is that a fact? Negative 10 is less than 0. So we're going to go up to negative 10. 0 works. So we're going to shade in the direction. We'll shade in green. In the direction of 0, which is 0 is going to be up this way. Then we're going to do our test point first. Second one, is 0 less than negative 5? It is not. So we're not going to shade towards 0. We're going to go to negative 5, draw an open circle, and shade away from 0, which is going to be to the left. But the answer to this, as far as our shading, we do want 2 open circles because there's no equal to's, but it's going to be the overlap. So the answer is what I have colored in black. All right, so that's 2 of them. I'm going to do a couple more. So number 7 on our worksheet, again, you can look at it however you want, but you need the variable by itself first. For most students, it's easier to rewrite it. So negative 27 is greater than negative 3 plus 6m. Then I'm going to get rid of that side. So negative 3 plus 6m is greater than or equal to negative 39. So again, I'm turning our one and problem into 2 problems. We're going to look at the one on the left first. So I need 6m by itself, my great divide. I'm going to add 3 because it's over here on the side with 6m. We need this to be equal to 0 because we're trying to get that m by itself. So if I owe you 27 and I pay you 3, I'm going to owe you 24, 6m, which is 6 times m, and the inverse of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by 6. M, and that's a positive 6, so everything's fine. Negative 24 divided by 6 is going to give me a negative 4. So m is less than a negative 4, or negative 4 is greater than m. If I go up to negative 4, I know it's going to be an open circle. If I want to do my test point, negative 4 is greater than 0. Negative 4 is not greater than 0. So we are not going to shade towards 0. We're going to shade away from it. And 0 would be up over here above our negative 2. So we're going to shade towards the other direction for this one. Now we're going to go solve our second one. 6m, got to get it by itself. So we're going to add 3. Add 3. These guys cross out. So I have 6m is greater than or equal to, if I owe you 39, but I pay you 3, I'm going to owe you 36. That is multiplication, 6 times m, so we're going to divide by 6 on both sides to undo using inverse operations. And that's a positive 6 we're dividing by, so our symbol stays exactly the way it is. We're not flipping anything. Negative 36 divided by a positive 6 is going to give you a negative 6. Still, again, you did not divide or multiply by a negative. You just came out with a negative answer, so everything's fine. We're going to keep doing our math. We're going to graph this one. We're going to do our point check. So is 0 greater than or equal to negative 6? It is. So I'm going to do an open circle at negative 6. And I'm going to shade towards 0, which is this way. And then the overlap is just right in between negative 6 and negative 4. And you may see this answer written as a compound answer. So again, whichever one's smaller, negative 6, right? Oh, and that should be an m, not a, oh no, sorry. Negative 6, 4. So you can write it straight across like it is, because as you see, that is going to go on either side of the m. So negative 4 less than m. There's my m. M is greater than or equal to negative 6. Or you can flip the whole thing the other way if you'd like. Whichever makes more sense to you is perfectly fine. But be aware that the butt of the inequality is towards the negative 6. So m is going to always be greater than or equal to negative 6. And the butt in this case for your negative 4 is facing, or the vertex of it, whatever word makes more sense to you. Or the fish is not eating the m. I've heard some people say too. But just make sure that when you look, even if you flip it, so if you wrote negative 6, you need the vertex facing that way. You have to flip the whole thing if you switch the order. So that's written as a compound. All right. We have another one. I challenge you to pause your video and just try to write this 2 times. If you're really adventurous, leave it paused and continue to solve. But first of all, split it. See if you can split it without my help. So negative 33 is less than 3 plus 9v. 3 plus 9v is less than or equal to 75. I'm sure you're able to get that right. I'm confident. All right, so we have a line of great divide. Our variable, we're going to subtract 3. Subtract 3 because it's attached to that 9v, and we need 9v by itself. Our symbol stays the same, so 9v, our inequality. If I owe you 33 and I borrow 3 more, I'm going to owe you 36. 9v is multiplication. The inverse of multiplication is division, so we're going to divide. We divided by positive, so our inequality stays exactly like it always does. And then 36 divided by 9, that's a negative 36. It's going to give me a negative 4. So I'm going to go up here to negative 4 and draw an open circle because there's not an equal to. Oh, speaking of which, the last one, you got to go back. It's not right. There's a solid, so we need a solid circle at the negative 6. So it was not graphed correctly. Got to be careful. Maybe you noticed it. Can't talk to you right now. So hopefully you noticed that and you knew my mistake. But because that's an equal to, you got to put a solid circle there. So this negative, this is not an equal to, so it's an open circle for sure. If we do our test point, is negative 4 less than 0? It is. So we're going to shade towards 0. And I'm not even going to go all the way. Now we're going to go over here. That's our green one. And start our next one. So we have 9v. That 3's on the outside is positive, so we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So 9v is less than or equal to 72. I had 75 and I spent 3. 9v, we're going to divide by 9. It's a positive 9, so our inequality stays the same direction. We're not flipping anything. So 72 divided by 9 is going to be 8. Then we want to do our test point. Is 0 less than or equal to 8? It is. That is a less than or equal to. So we're going to go up here to 8, colored in solid, and then we're going to shade towards 0, which is this way, towards 0. So that if those arrows kept going, your overlap would be between the open circle at negative 4 and the closed circle at 8. All right, guys, the next two have variables on both sides, and we'll go into the next video. See you soon.